Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and CEO of VitalityOET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or waking around the middle. That seems to have come on out of absolutely nowhere, despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You're putting in all this effort and you're actually moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today, I want to talk about all things cardio, the 3 biggest fat loss mistakes that we see women making in menopause, in perimenopause, in postmenopause when it comes to fat loss and cardio. And you have all heard me talk about in the past, I'm sure, about how cardio is not super great for our hormones, and we really push resistance training to help you get results. So you know those things, and you've seen that on my social media as well. But I want to actually really talk about it because I'm not anti-cardio, okay? Cardio does have its benefits, right? Like it helps your mental health for some people. It helps them, like being able to run outside is really great for their soul. That's good, right? That's a very good positive side effect. It helps your cardiovascular health for your heart, right? Resistance training also does this though, so be aware of that. It helps your blood pressure, right? There's lots of benefits to cardiovascular activity. However, we do have to realize that all the benefits that you get from cardio can actually happen from resistance training as well, which is awesome. But I'm going to touch more on that later. So what are the biggest mistakes that we see in women when they are doing cardio for fat loss, right? One, the first thing is it's not actually required for fat loss. Can it help a little bit to try and burn some more calories? Sure, but it is an increased stress, right? And it does compete with building muscle. Those are 2 very different stimuluses you're sending to the body. Resistance training is going to tell you to build muscle. Cardio is actually going to break down muscle. So if you want to look fit and toned, you just have to be aware that one might help you get to your goals quicker. The other one might actually counteract your goals a bit. So there is sit and hit, right? Sprint interval training and high intensity interval training, which can be beneficial, right? Everyone talks about how Stacey Sims talks about this, and it can be beneficial. But the word there is can. Does not mean it will be, it can be. And the issue here is with sprint training and hit training is that it's only beneficial if your body is in a state where it can tolerate that amount of stress. And a lot of women are not. Can those types of exercise improve your stress tolerance? Yes, but if you are in a place where your body cannot handle that, it is going to affect you negatively. So this is something that we're going to dive into a little bit more. The second one is metabolic adaptation. Like I mentioned, your cardio, same with your HIIT training, your Orange Theories, your F45s, your circuit training, your boot camps, anything with a minute rest or shorter. Even if you're handling weights, that's still basically cardio, right? You're not going to get a muscle building effect. So what happens with this is that you burn less calories over time because your body is adapting to the signal that you are sending it. So what happens is in order for you to burn the same amount of calories, you have to go for longer, for harder, and more often. So I'll just make up some random numbers here for you. For example, let's say you go for a 10-minute run every day. And you're running at 4 miles an hour, let's say, and that burns 100 calories. Whether or not that's even remotely true, I have no idea, but let's just go with that. So the first time you do it, it's 100 calories. Then if you're doing this for a few days, then it goes down to only 90 calories, and then 80 calories and 70 calories. So your body burns less and less calories every time you do it because it becomes more efficient. Cardio makes us more like a hybrid car. We become very fuel efficient. Our body wants to get good at not expending energy while doing the demanded task. When we're doing resistance training, the opposite signal is happening. We know we got to get stronger to be able to lift that weight. So therefore, your body's going to build more muscle. So The only way to continue to burn more calories through cardio is you have to run for longer or do the activity for longer. You have to go at a higher intensity, so running faster or doing it more often just to get the same amount of calorie burn, right? For calories in, calories out, right? And the next one is cardio timing. Studies actually suggest that strength is compromised 6 to 8 hours after doing cardio or HIIT, which results in stunted results from your strength workouts. So if your priority is to put on muscle mass, to get fit, to get toned, you don't want to do cardio before your workouts because stunting your strength, you're going to get less out of it, right? If you can lift less weight, the stimulus to build muscle and maintain muscle goes down. So you want to do your cardio after your weight training workouts, right? So you can do cardio, right? You can. This is not me telling you not to, because if you love it, you should do it, right? And it does have health benefits, but you can get those benefits from resistance training, and you do have to just be aware that the cardio is likely not supporting your physique goals, right? So what does? If cardio, we've all been told in these HIIT classes and the F45s and the Orange Theories and the boot camps and the circuit trainings, right? The spin classes, if that's not helping you get to your physique goal of having less body fat, right? Because we don't want to just be taking up like weighing less, right? This is the biggest thing. So you are wanting your body essentially to take up less space, right? That's what you want. You want a smaller pant size. You want your waist circumference to be smaller. You want to have less body fat on your body so some muscle can show, correct? A lighter number does not mean that you are going to look that way. Because I am 7 pounds lighter than what I was at my fittest, and my pant size is up, and I don't have as much muscle, and I have more body fat. So you need to understand that the cardio is probably going to make you have a higher body fat percentage due to muscle loss and not losing much fat or maintaining the same fat mass versus doing resistance training. The king of everything when it comes to perimenopause and menopause and your physique, the king is going to be preserving muscle mass, okay? Peter Attia said it best. If you have an aspiration of kicking butt when you are 85, you cannot be average at 50 because strength and muscle mass declines so quickly. It is crazy what happens. We know how freaking hard it is to put on muscle because most of you have been trying for a very long time, right? Or you're trying to maintain it and you feel like you're looking skinny fat. So we know that when estrogen starts to decline, putting on and building muscle is so much harder. You have to be so much more intentional to look fit and toned, to lose just body fat, to preserve your muscle mass, to have a lower body fat percentage and look the way that you actually want to look. So studies actually show that the average loss of muscle is 1% to 2% per year. Another study showed 35 to 40% of your muscle is gone between 20 to 80 years of age. Almost half your muscle mass over the course of those years. That's insane. And we also know that women lose up to 10% of their muscle mass in the 3 to 4 years before hitting menopause. Menopause is 1 full year without a cycle. The 3 to 4 years before you have that 1 year without a cycle, that day that you've gone 365 days without a cycle, those 3 to 4 years before that, you lose about 10% of up to 10% of your muscle. 10%. And the scary part is that you can have a regular cycle and be in perimenopause and be in that phase of where you lose 10% of your muscle mass. So we have to be so proactive. We also know that you can be in perimenopause as young as 35, and still have a regular cycle. So you could be in this stage right now. If you are over the age of 35 and still have a regular cycle, you could still be in that point in your life right now where you are on that muscle decline. So we have to be strong. This is the only way to change this and prevent this from happening. You have to be so intentional. Building muscle and maintaining muscle does not happen on accident. I'm going to say it again. You have to be so intentional. Building and maintaining muscle mass will not happen on accident. It is actually incredibly hard to do, and you will not end up looking bulky. I have never, ever in my history, since working in this field from 2011, ever had a woman say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, I'm too bulky. Because once you get your physique close to where you want to be, you just taper back your intensity and you can maintain. You're not going to wake up one day and be like, oh crap, it happened. I look like a man. I'm too bulky. That will literally never happen. Ever. I promise you. So trust me, every single one of our coaches has worked so hard to put on muscle mass, and we're still trying to put on muscle mass, and it takes time. That is my mission right now. Right now, my sole purpose in what I'm doing for my fitness and health right now is I am trying to build as much muscle mass as I can, because I lost a bunch when I had my baby during pregnancy. So I am trying to put on as much muscle mass as I can because I know how important it is for so many reasons. For our blood sugar control, for our metabolism, to make my body better at burning calories so that if I end up in the hospital, my hospital stays are shorter. I recover from surgeries quicker, reduced risk of falls, reduced risk of mortality in general, for hormone health, so many things. Okay, so trust me, you are not going to end up looking like the Hulk, I promise. So getting stronger is the key to looking toned, to improving your blood sugar so that you're not storing fat, to boost your metabolism so your body is good at burning calories, which will obviously make it easier for you to lose weight. It reduces your fall risk, right? Like I talked about, so many reasons. So how do we do this? Because if you're not trying to put on muscle mass, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing it wrong. You know, like my goal, I remember going hiking once, doing the grouse grind in Vancouver, in the mountains, beautiful. It's like the most beautiful but torturous stairway ever. It's so much, right? And there was a woman hiking with her kids who were probably like 12 and 15, or her grandkids, sorry, who were 10 and 15. Her daughter was with her as well. And she was wearing a sash across her body that said 80th birthday. That is what I want to do on my 80th birthday. I want to be able to be in such good health that I can hike with my grandkids and my kids, be healthy, be active, not worry about falling and breaking a hip. You know, I see how other people have aged and I don't want that. I don't want to be on the sidelines. I want to be strong. I want to be healthy. So you have to think about, what are the things that you want to do for the rest of your life? What are the things that you want to be doing when you're 80? What are the things that you want to be doing when you're 90? You need to start training for that. And that requires strength. Okay. So what we need to think about is, like, muscle is always being broken down and rebuilt all of the time. Okay. So we want to have a bigger muscle building signal than muscle breakdown signal. This is the key to maintaining and building muscle mass, right? So in order to build muscle, we need to have more protein synthesis happening at any time than muscle protein breakdown. So what this means is our body is in the more of a building phase than a breakdown phase. So here are some things that you need to know about muscle breakdown. 1, muscle breakdown happens when we are in a fasted state. Let me say this again. Y'all are trying to get fit and toned, right? You want to lose body fat. You want to maintain muscle mass. However, how many of you are fasting? And did you know that muscle breaks down when we are not fed? So by fasting, you are sending the signal to your body to break down muscle for energy. And this is already happening when we're sleeping, or when there are no amino acids available in between meals. This means we're not getting enough protein in between our meals. So your muscle is breaking down. So you're trying to lose weight, but what you're losing is muscle. If you are trying to build and maintain muscle and look toned, fasting is not the answer for you. Okay. Number 2. Muscle is broken down during exercise, but we see enhanced muscle protein synthesis post-workout. So muscle breaks down during your workout, but then after workout, you have a window where your muscle signal to build more muscle goes up. But we have to maximize that, okay? We know that food intake is going to slow down muscle breakdown. So it's going to help with building muscle, right? We're making that muscle breakdown signal less and having more of a muscle building signal, okay? Carbs are considered muscle sparing. So what this means is if you have carbohydrates in your diet, your body is less likely to break down muscle mass for energy. Because what happens when we don't have enough carbs in our body or enough food in our body in general, right? Enough carbohydrates, that's what our body likes to use for energy. Our body goes and breaks down muscle mass, takes it to your liver turns it into sugar, dumps it into your bloodstream, blood sugar goes up. So even if you're not having carbohydrates, your blood sugar is still going to go up. But you know what? It's not from eating carbs. It's from not eating and breaking down your muscle mass instead, which is not a good time, right? We don't want that. So you need carbohydrates. If you look at any athlete who has a fit, toned body, people who do CrossFit, people who are athletes who were just in the Summer Olympics, you have no idea how much carbohydrate those people eat. None of them are going to be on a low carb diet. Not a single one. Not one. I promise you that. Okay, the next thing you have to remember is also cortisol breaks down muscle. So what are the things that increase your cortisol so that you're aware? That way you don't have this muscle breakdown happening, right? Because we want to minimize that signal. The things that increase cortisol: eating too little, skipping your carbs, fasting, skipping meals, being go, go, go all the time, not getting a good night's sleep, hormonal imbalances, inflammation, right? If we are, dealing with trauma and grief and deadlines, and you're the taxi mom that's going from one place to the other, and inflammatory style foods like our fast foods, right? Having coffee on an empty stomach. These are all things that increase cortisol, which are then going to break down your muscle mass. So that's not helpful. So constantly going into chasing fat loss all the time, and that's going to cause you to eat less food. That's going to increase your cortisol. The other thing that increases cortisol is when estrogen goes down. So you're already in this state where cortisol is more likely to be increased during perimenopause and menopause and break down muscle, causing fat storage, right? We're having a higher body fat percentage. That's also going to lead to more blood sugar issues, leading to even more fat storage. Yet you keep doing things that raise your cortisol, like doing crazy amounts of cardio, doing crazy amounts of workouts. You're not sleeping, you're fasting, coffee on an empty stomach, skipping your carbs, skipping meals, saving your calories for later. All of these things are actually breaking down your muscle mass. So of course you're struggling. I hope you're having some aha moments here. And then of course, if we are dealing with low estrogen levels, we're going to struggle because one of estrogen's roles is to build muscle. It's a building hormone. And then if you have low testosterone as well as a female, that's a double whammy of having your muscle breakdown signal be even greater. So what we're seeing is, which a lot of women are struggling with, is we're fasting, which increases muscle breakdown. We are not eating enough food, which is going to also not support that, right? We're going to see more muscle breakdown. We are skipping our carbs, more muscle breakdown. We are in a high stress state, more muscle breakdown. We have low estrogen, low testosterone, more muscle breakdown. So you can see how even just with hormonal changes, we're starting to shift this where we're favoring muscle breakdown and not muscle building. So if you aren't doing all the things that help with muscle building, you're just in this net balance, right, of muscle breakdown, and you're doing things that aren't conducive to building muscle. Right? And especially with the kind of cardio that you do as well, right? So this is why it is so crucial for you to make sure you are eating enough food, particularly protein and carbs. Doing proper strength training is essential when it comes to putting on and maintaining muscle mass so we don't break down more than we build. Okay? So like I mentioned, in menopause, we're at a serious disadvantage because when that estrogen goes down, we have a hard time building and maintaining muscle mass, right? Then our stress is going to be higher because estrogen helps keep cortisol levels down. So now it's a lot easier for cortisol to go up, which is also going to break down our muscle. So then we need to counteract that muscle breakdown with an adequate muscle building signal through proper nutrition, proper lifestyle, and proper exercise programming. So here's what you actually need to do to build and maintain muscle mass, to look fit and toned, to get your metabolism up nice and high, to help with your blood sugar control, to help you look the way that you actually want to look. Number 1, you need protein, and quite a bit of it, okay? You want to take your weight in pounds, multiply it by 0.8, and that's about how much protein you should be having in a day. We typically like to max women out around 150 grams because I find digestion starts to take a hit, and you want to get most of your protein from whole foods. So AKA, you don't want to be having a ton of protein from processed health foods. So the powders, the bars, the keto Pop-Tarts, the low carb keto wraps, the low carb breads, the protein cookies, all those things. Those are going to raise inflammation, typically gut health issues. So incorporating some of those is great, but when we rely on them heavily, it's too much for our body. We want to get whole food sources. We do have a protein guide. If you go to my Instagram page, you will see one of the posts at the top talks about eggs and proteins. You can get a free protein guide by going to that specific Instagram post. You just have to comment on it. It'll send you the guide automatically. So make sure you check that out to help you figure out your protein sources, because it can be overwhelming figuring out where to get your protein from, right? Another thing that's really helpful with protein is make sure you're getting 20 to 30 grams. Honestly, ideally, if you can get 30 grams per meal, that is the best, because that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's 90 grams of protein right there. Super easy. Pop in a couple snacks and you're good to go. Makes life so much easier. With the muscle protein synthesis, the muscle building, that slows down. We see the muscle breakdown signal starts to get less. Like we don't see as much of that signal if you are having protein regularly. That muscle breakdown signal starts to go back up 3 to 4 hours after your meal of protein. So this is where we want to start looking at making sure you have protein regularly throughout the day. So remember how we talked about like fasting increases the muscle breakdown? Not having enough protein does this as well. So this is why if you are doing a ton of fasting, you're increasing muscle breakdown for 8 p.m. until 11 the next day. That's a long time where you're really maximizing your muscle breakdown signal. That's not helpful, right? So want to make sure that we're having 20 to 30 grams per meal. Every 3 to 4 hours, you want to be having some protein. And that's going to help really keep that muscle building signal nice and high for you. Number 2, which is super essential, is the only way to build muscle is with legitimate strength training. I'm going to say that again. The only way to actually build muscle mass is through proper strength training. So what does this look like? Just because you're holding weights does not make it resistance training. That does not mean you're going to build muscle. If you are doing the HIITs, the F45s, the Orange Theories, the boot camps, the circuit training, the 60-second rest, right? Those don't build muscle. We talked about that, right? What you need to do is you need to follow a program. I'm not talking about the YouTube ones where the workout changes every week. That's not going to be helpful. You want to do the same program every week for 4 to 6 weeks before you change it. Okay, so every Monday looks the same, every Wednesday looks the same, every Friday looks the same. The difference is you are getting stronger week to week. This is where you're tracking your stuff. So let's say my workout on Monday, if you're only working out 3 days a week, by the way, they should be full body workout days. So you maximize when you're hitting that muscle group to really maximize that muscle building signal again. I won't get into the sciencey stuff of that. If you're doing 4 days a week, you are doing upper body, lower body rest, upper body, lower body rest, rest. That's how you would do it. 5 days a week, I like to do lower body, upper body, break, lower body, upper body, full body. That's typically what that looks like. And then honestly, you don't need to exercise more than that. 3 days a week is super effective. 2 to 3 days a week, you don't need to do more than that if you don't like working out. So that's good news for you. Because you need to rest, because that's when we are able to build muscle. Because remember, exercise breaks down muscle. So we need to give it enough adequate rest to build up muscle. So what does strength training actually look like? Same workout program for 4 to 6 weeks. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday is going to look the same. You are going to lift the weight. Okay, your H10 times, whatever the rep range is. If you can lift that weight more than 12 times, that weight is too easy for you, you need to go heavier. You can also slow down the movement to make it more challenging so you can't lift it more than 10 times. But the goal is week to week, we are getting stronger. We are trying to challenge ourselves. And you will be so surprised at how heavy you can lift, but that's the way that you build muscle. Because if you're not ever challenging your body, there's no reason for it to change. Right? Like that would be like, why would I put on muscle mass if all I'm doing is 10-pound bicep curls when I know my body can handle more than that? Like I'm not going to see changes. My body isn't going to change because there's no reason to. Whereas if I'm lifting, let's say 25 pounds and I can only do like 8 reps and the next week I'm like still trying to lift 8 reps and I get 9 this time. And then, like every week you're trying to lift harder. Your body's like, man, Steph keeps trying to bicep curl these heavy weights. We should get stronger, build more muscle so that she can do it because that's the demand that she's putting on the body. So we need to adapt. That's how the body works. And then your rest periods. We're talking at least a minute and a half. At least a minute and a half to 3 minutes. Because during perimenopause and menopause in particular, it's harder for us to access energy stores. So we need that extra time for those energy stores to recover for us. But also, you should feel tired enough that you need it. So if you do not feel like you are challenging yourself enough, you're not lifting heavy enough. You should need that break. Okay, and it's going to feel weird because we all feel like, oh, if I'm resting, I'm not productive. Like I must have to be sweaty. I have to keep moving. Or, oh, I pace during my rest times or I clean up during my rest times. No, that's not resting. We want to focus on slowing down your breathing, bringing your heart rate down. You're just sitting and chilling. And that is productive because you are setting your body up for success to push harder in the next set to then get stronger so you can continue to progress through the next following weeks. It is actually productive to take your rest. But if you find it so hard to sit for a minute and a half because you feel like you're not being productive, we've got other problems. What are you running from? Why can't you sit for a minute and a half? If that's that painful and a struggle, you are such an adrenaline junkie, a cortisol junkie that you always need to be go, go, go. Your body just doesn't know how to get out of fight or flight. That's a problem. So take those rest periods. Okay, so that's strength training. It is the only way to build muscle mass, period. Number 3, post-workout nutrition. We actually have a guide on this. So if you head into our Facebook community, we have our guide for pre and post-workout nutrition, what to eat, when to eat pre and post. This is really important, right? Remember how I said that post-exercise, we're going to see more protein synthesis, right? Like after a workout, our body wants to build muscle mass. It's not a big enough signal to counteract the muscle breakdown signal from exercise, but food is going to help counteract that. It's also how we can enjoy carbs without seeing your blood sugar go up because our cells are more likely to absorb it. So it goes into muscle cells instead of our fat cells. So you're not seeing as much fat storage, which is amazing. So post-workout, you want to have protein and carbs. Incredibly important. We're talking about 20 to 30 grams of protein to, again, blunt that muscle breakdown response. And the carbohydrates help with that as well, but also help replenish those glycogen stores. So the next time that you work out, you have energy there and can push harder and see better results from your workouts. The next one is, while we are here and talking about carbs, like I mentioned, carbs are stored in your muscle as glycogen. This is what our body uses during exercise. So if you're not having carbohydrates, you're already at a disadvantage there, which is not good. 80% of energy production in your body for everyday functions and exercise is going to come from the glycogen breakdown, not protein, not fat. And when we eat carbs, and actually all food will cause a rise in insulin and blunts protein muscle breakdown. So this is so important. Carbs are important. You need it. This is why those carbs are considered muscle sparing, like I talked about before. Eating carbs post-workout helps replenish those muscle stores for you. Amazing. With proper resistance training, your body stimulates protein synthesis for up to 48 hours post-workout. So for 2 days after you work out, you have that muscle building signal that is elevated in your body. This is why you don't have to work out every day. If you're doing full body 3 days a week, you're golden. You're hitting it at perfect timing to get results. 3 days is more than enough. It's great, which is awesome. That's what I do. So because we're going to hit the muscle again when that muscle signal starts to come down for muscle building. So you're always building and building and building, which is great. If you do too much, it's too much of a muscle breakdown, right? So this is why figuring out the right training program and when to eat and how to eat is so key for getting toned. It's not just eat less and do more cardio. That's not conducive to building muscle mass and looking toned. Okay. So the big emphasis here is that you're going to need both enough carbohydrate intake, enough carb intake, and enough protein intake. Eat pre and post workout and have a good workout program to see results. You will not see muscle growth if you are missing any 5 of those items. So let me say that again for you. You need, in order to build muscle and look toned and fit in menopause, you need to eat enough calories, eat enough protein, eat enough carbs, eat pre and post workout, and follow an actual resistance training program to get results. If any one of those are missing, you are going to struggle to see results and you're not going to get as good results as you could. Okay? This is all about figuring out how do we maximize that muscle building signal and decreasing that muscle breakdown signal. That is all it comes down to. And again, when we're in perimenopause and menopause, we favor muscle breakdowns. This is why you have to be so much more intentional with this, because it's not going to happen on accident. And it's going to take time. You're not going to build a pound of muscle in a month. It's going to take time. So the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be because you're putting yourself in a worse position. So start today. I also want you to remember that when you are pursuing muscle mass and building muscle mass, you're not going to be your super leanest. You're not. It is a necessary part to increase your muscle mass in increasing your metabolism and improving your blood sugar control, improving your hormonal balance so that fat loss can be easier. So that way, when you lose fat, you actually have something to show for it and you can lose weight. But again, you need to make sure you're eating enough food and following the right kind of program. This is the kind of programming that we do for the women in our program. We have an exercise subscription program that's only $45 Canadian a month, which is like $35 American, that has this planned out for you, how to work out to get the best results. Okay. So I want to summarize everything because I touched on a lot of things and I got a little bit ranty, which I'm sorry, but I get so excited about this stuff. So number 1, you do not need to do cardio for fat loss. Okay. Cardio is going to result in metabolic adaptation, which means we burn less calories over time. Cardio and HIIT before resistance training is a no-no because it's going to stunt your strength and ability to build muscle mass. Women unfortunately lose up to 10% of their muscle mass in the 3 to 4 years prior to menopause. And we see fat mass start to increase at that same time, leading to a much higher body fat percentage. You want to eat enough protein, so 0.8 grams per pound of body weight to about a max of 150, eating 20 to 30 grams per meal of protein, having protein regularly throughout your day every 3 to 4 hours. Without protein, your body will not be able to build muscle mass because that is what muscle is made of, is protein. So if you're not eating enough protein, good luck, you're going to keep losing muscle mass and you're going to look skinny fat and it's not what you want. Eating enough calories. Remember, the best way to be able to build muscle is you need to have enough of the material in order to build from. If you're not eating enough calories, it will not work. You cannot build muscle in a calorie deficit. It does not happen, especially in perimenopause and menopause. Okay. So if you don't know how many calories you should be eating, just message me. I'm happy to do that for you, right? We do this for everyone all the time. Eating your carbs, mostly from whole foods to replenish those valuable glycogen stores to provide you with energy for your workouts and prevent unnecessary muscle breakdown. You want to make sure you're eating pre and post workout to, again, maximize your performance in the gym and decreasing that muscle breakdown signal after you work out. And you have to follow a proper resistance training program. It is 100% necessary. Otherwise, you will not be sending a big enough muscle building signal to your body. And no matter what you do, how hard you work out, whatever workouts you're doing, you will not get results. Okay. So like I mentioned, if you don't know the best sources of protein or ideas for protein intake, both for those people who are animal product eaters and those who are not, we have a guide pinned in my Instagram. There's a picture of me deadlifting. It talks about eggs and protein. There's a protein guide there for you. If you want the pre and post workout nutrition guide, just message me. And then again, if you want that resistance training program that is made specifically to help you build and maintain muscle mass, to improve your metabolism so your body's better at burning calories, to help you with your hormonal imbalances, and also improve your cortisol levels to really maximize that muscle building signal and stunt that muscle breakdown signal, we do have that exercise program for $35 American a month, no contracts. The link will be in the show notes for you. If you have any questions, let me know. I love you so, so much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.